wanted to share a little bit of actionable life advice with you. So I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and she's super nice. We've been friends for a very long time. She's very smart. And I have all kinds of friends at all kinds of different points in their life, all kinds of different backgrounds and walks of life and different incomes. I have my billionaire software entrepreneur friends. And then I also have some other friends that, are really nice, good, smart people, but maybe they don't make a lot of money or they don't have a lot of money. And I can also relate to this because I'm not trust fund. My parents didn't have a lot of money. They both work for the government. My dad was a biologist for the government, and my mom was a high school librarian. And I've also been totally broke and homeless multiple times. Money, in my mind, money comes and goes. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. It's really nice when you have it, but nothing in this life is certain. Just like the pandemic, we don't know what's going to happen, and you have to stay agile. But life is also not just about money. Success, in my mind, isn't also just about money. It's about your quality of life and your happiness. And if you don't know about me, I'm a serial software entrepreneur who started multiple successful companies. One is a multi-million-dollar profitable one that I started by myself when I was 23. And then another is a software company. I also invest in B2B, sounds very buzzwordy, but business to business software companies, SaaS companies. I'm not a SaaShole, but I'm a writer, I'm a rapper, I design some streetwear fashion and a bunch of other stuff with surrealistic art. So I right now am basically living my ideal life. Yeah, I'd like to travel a little bit more right now, but there's a pandemic. And I got all of this from my mind and my network. Everything I have was through writing or software, whether it was writing cold emails to meet different people and learn from them, or learning things online, or using online tools, or just writing code to automate things. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is, what do you do if you're in that position where you're not very happy and you're not making a lot of money and you're not living the way that you want to live? Like my friend, for example, she wishes that she had studied finance or computer science and was on a different career path maybe. But what I say to that is, it doesn't matter what you studied in school, frankly. Yeah, I went to university. I went to UC Davis. I learned things. I met a lot of great people, but even if you didn't go to university, that's okay. I know plenty of great software entrepreneurs and also engineers and other people that didn't go to college at all. Some of them didn't finish high school, and they're brilliant, and they make a lot of money, and they're very happy. And that's totally okay. Doesn't matter what your major was in school. If you have one, cool. A lot of my friends who studied computer science said that what they learned in school wasn't that helpful, actually, in terms of the work they do now, even as software engineers. So, not to knock school, read books, write, learn. Knowledge is power. But don't let anyone put you in a box or make you feel like you have to go on this little strict path. Unless you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, something like that, then you do need that education path that is fairly linear. But almost everything else beyond those handful of professions doesn't really require education as much as just hard work and hustle. So as far as my friend or anyone like that who's in that position who wishes they were in a different career field, like I was there before. I used to be an economist, and while I love economics, I hated a lot of my career as an economist, frankly. And I was in that same position. I didn't know anyone in tech. I didn't know how to code. I didn't know, anything about startups or software companies, and I just learned it. I also reached out to people. So if you're in the position, here are a few tips. One, you should try try to think about not where you are now and feel bad about it, but where do you want to be? Actually, I'm nerding out on econ. There's a concept in economics and game theory. It's called reverse induction. And what it means is you work backward from the desired outcome or endpoint. So think about where you want to be, whether it's a software CEO, a very successful marketer or salesperson, an engineer, whatever your dream job is. Maybe it doesn't even exist yet. I pioneered a whole category around cold email and sales acceleration that did not exist. I went to friends in the field and they told me, get a job as an email marketer. So, it's okay if that endpoint, that's the other point I'm going to say, if that endpoint you're looking for, your goal or your dream, if it is not something that exists now, that's okay too. Just really visualize and think about what it is and like what's the closest thing to that, and then you're going to work backwards. So if you want to be, let's say, working in tech, how can you do that? You need experience. An easy way to do that would be to try to get a low-level job in tech, maybe an SDR, sales development rep, maybe a customer service representative, or sometimes they're called like customer success or account managers, even support, whatever. At the right company, if you are in that company, you have a lot of wiggle room if it's a startup. I'm not talking about Google or Amazon. It's a lot more structured and like bureaucratic. But if you really want to work in tech, there are a million startups out there that would let you intern or take you to do some low-level job. You might have to take a pay cut initially. I did. When I first got into tech and I was working for a 500 startups company, it was not my best offer. Honestly, it was not even like the job I ultimately wanted, but it was the one that opened up a lot of opportunities as far as who I would meet and also what I would learn, because I was exposed to all these different entrepreneurs and people from like the founders of Airbnb to, like getting to meet the governor of Osaka and pitch him in Japanese on public TV in Japan, NHK Japan. And just a bunch of really smart, nice people from Silicon Valley that weren't sassholes. Definitely met some sassholes too. Anyways, I digress. So think about that goal and then like think of the easiest path there. You can think of like what is a sure path that maybe is longer or it's harder, but there are many paths to reach your goal. There's not just one path. School is not that path most of the time. And a lot of times academic institutions lie to us and tell us if we just get that bachelor's or that master's or that PhD, we're going to be set. I cannot tell you how many friends I have. In fact, the friend I'm talking about is in grad school right now and in a science grad school program, and I have had so many friends that are in science PhDs that have been extremely unhappy with academia and ended up, most of them, not even using their degree after, even though they loved science, because that system is just terrible. That said, there are so many different paths, so don't let someone convince you this is the only path, you have to do this. If something doesn't feel right to you, if that path isn't right to you, but you still want that goal, it's still your dream, you can get there. You don't have to go to school for computer science to get a job as a software engineer. If your goal is to be a software engineer, specifically, you don't even have to go to one of those boot camps. Maybe, I know some people who've done that and been successful, but you can teach yourself how to code. There's tons of free resources online. Another great way to go about it is to, specifically for learning how to code, pick a passion project that you're excited about. Code a basic app or website. Learn by doing with a specific goal in mind. It's a lot more effective than just like doing a whole course. And then also, I would say try to talk to people, if it's possible, people who are in the position you want to be in the future. Sometimes that's not possible. Frankly, that didn't really work for me because I was trying to do very different things than a lot of people. I did learn from some people who were very kind and just taught me a lot, like Eric Yuan from Zoom, or Keith Kroc, the former CEO of DocuSign, and a bunch of other people from Silicon Valley, B2B SaaS companies that are just really nice and smart and humble. But my path was a little bit different because I bootstrapped a company. So if you can't find that person, just find the next closest thing and find more people like that to talk to. Ask them these questions. Ask them, what skills do you think are extremely important to be successful? What do you wish someone had told you early on? What do you like about this? What don't you like? Do you have any advice for me to get into a role like yours? And ultimately, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, because sometimes people will give you incorrect advice. Something they told us at 500 Startups when I was in batch 6 was basically that as an entrepreneur, you can get advice from everyone, but ultimately you have to trust your gut and make decisions. And the more decisive you are with those decisions, the better. So the same lesson that applies to running a company applies to your own career. Just be decisive. If you make a wrong turn, it's okay. You might make mistakes, you might fail, honestly. I've failed so many times, I can't even count. But, the key is to decide and just try it out. And if it doesn't work, be resourceful, be resilient and persistent. Try another path, try another option. If you really want your dream, I promise you can make it happen. But you have to really work at it and be very resilient and have that mindset of a hacker where you're trying a whole bunch of different options until you get there. If you find a simple, easy path to get there, to have your dreams be reality, you can take that. You don't always have to take the hardest route, but if you're trying to do something very, very difficult or something someone has never done before, probably you're going to have a really hard path ahead. But if it's something you're really passionate about, really excited about, and you really dream of, I personally believe it's worth it. But you'll never know until you try, and I personally would rather live with knowing that I tried and failed than feeling like, what if I had done that? And a lot of times, honestly, even if you fail, you'll still get pretty close to your goal. Sometimes you'll get to an even better place than you thought. The path doesn't always go the way you think it will, so be flexible, be agile, keep that, I call it my Bedouin mindset. As you can see, I have all my Bedouin North African jewelry on to represent my cultural heritage of Berber. Very small amount, but thank you 23andMe for letting me know that. Anyways, be agile, be resourceful, like Nassim Taleb says in The Black Swan, which actually was the book that I read in post-revolutionary Egypt during grad school, which convinced me to drop out of grad school. And then let's see, do I have any other advice? Just keep learning and don't be afraid to reach out to people. Cold email is powerful. You can also cold tweet at people, reach out any platform, whether it's email or LinkedIn or Twitter, it doesn't really matter. Just start those conversations. And the last thing I would say is interviewing people on a topic you really want to learn about, and posting content is a great way to get closer to making your dreams reality. That's it for now. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more business and life advice, lots of life hacks. I'll have some career advice, especially around tech, but also be exploring home automation, some of my favorite robots, and other just, life hacks and software that I love. That's it. Razzle dazzle.